Now we're going to Gondar and Lake Tana, just as the abbot told me to. The festival in Addis Ababa is still a few days away, and I think we have time to do this, okay?
Okay.
But first, we'll go visit a monk who lives close to here, and also the castles. Does that sound good?
Okay.
You know, they're not going to let you into the temples at the lake. We will visit our father's brothers, and you will stay with them while I visit the temples, okay?
Fine.
እሱ ወስድሻለሁ አስጎብኝሻለሁ ያለን ቦታ እኔ አሳይሻለሁ። ጎንደር፣ አዳር፣ ጸቅቤ፣ ጎንደር፣ ባህር ዳር እና አዲስ አበባ ነሽ። ጸቅቤ ደስ ዞር ቀያየርሽ ያይሽ አይዞሽ።
On their journey to Gondar, Yijeno wants to visit a famous holy man who, like the Hindu Sandhus, abandoned his home and family to dedicate his life to the ascetic life. He lives isolated from the world and only leaves his place of retreat to make a special pilgrimage. The holy man is taken care of by his followers. Every day they make his injera, the sourdough pancake-like bread that Ethiopians need to survive. It's made out of fermented teef, a grain that can only be found in these lands. The dough is cooked like a grilled pancake with a little bit of butter. But this man chose a very special path as an ascetic practice. Inspired by a dream, he decided to carve a church out of a rock, the way they must have built the ancient churches. There were 3 ways to build a church. Some were excavated in a rock jutting out of an appropriate crag. Others took advantage of a natural cave. And the most spectacular ones were separated from the central monolith to isolate it from the rest of the rock. It was that monolith that was used to build the temple. The holy man, to build his, took advantage of a great rock and worked in front of it. And he didn't lack a thing. He even managed to get some of the mural paintings that are so typical of Orthodox Ethiopia. These paintings reproduce biblical scenes and the lives of saints in a style between Gothic and naif. Mimi and Yijeno continue their journey towards Gondar. Going in this direction, it's more common to see many falasha. Ethnically and linguistically identical to the Amaras who dominate the country, the falasha are not very sure of the origin of their Jewish faith. Some people contend that they are the true lost tribe of Israel, the direct descendants of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. The truth is that during the 1980s, when drought devastated their region, 10,000 of them were evacuated by air to Jerusalem, leaving the rest in a miserable situation. When the rains are benevolent, the region where Gondar is located is rich, surrounded by lakes and fertile lands, which at one time was the crossroad of the 3 great caravan routes that passed through this part of Africa. Gondar was the perfect place to install a capital, a city that would dominate these vast lands. And this is what it was like from the middle of the 17th century and for more than 200 years, the most splendid years in the history of Ethiopia. Gondar was called the African Camelot. That brilliant court made churches and small palaces grow like feverish poppy castles, whose origin is unknown. The Dervish Sudanese in the 19th century and the British bombardments during the middle of the 20th partially destroyed the structural integrity of the constructions. They did not manage to ruin them completely, but turned them into splendid skeletons. According to the chronicles of the time, the courts that occupied this part of the city lived well and dressed in sumptuous robes imported by the caravans coming from the Far East or the desired Europe. They used Chinese dishes, Venetian glassware, spices from Ceylon. In luxury and magnificence, the castles of the Ethiopian Empire had nothing to envy the European courts. The emperor was God, and no expense was too much to bring man closer to divinity. The most spectacular of the many castles built in Gondar is that of King Fasilides. Later on, his son and successor, Johannes, did not want to create a new capital, as was the custom, but limited himself to adding a lavish library to his father's church. During the time of Jesus the Great, the Church of Debre Burhan was erected, lavishly adorned with golden panels and detailed works of artisanry. The murals represent the Trinity, the crucifixion of Christ, the fight between St. George and the dragon, and other biblical legends, crowned by the famous ceiling of angels' faces. In one corner of Lake Tana, the Spanish Jesuit church of Pedro Páez is found. This man, born in a town of the province of Madrid, was the first European to identify the sources of the Blue Nile in 1618, long before the official discoverer, the Scotsman James Bruce, did so. Páez went to Ethiopia with the intention of bringing the Negus Empire back under the control of Rome. He was a polyglot. He learned to speak Amharic perfectly and read Ge'ez fluently. He was an intelligent man and a great conversationalist. He was able to get close to the emperors, who were not blind to the desire of getting close to the Catholic doctrine. One of them, Síguenos, ordered him to build a wonderful two-story church palace, something never seen in Ethiopia up to that time. He did it, but he never saw his work completed. He died leaving as a legacy many books about Ethiopia and a church, which the earthquakes have taken care of destroying little by little.
Since my father died, I have not seen my family. His two sisters, Sama and Nuria, are true grandmothers. They raised my father